down here. You can't come to the Antarctic because you're a woman. What would your reaction be?
Punch in the face.
February 2024, McMurdo Station, Antarctica. The last LC-130 Hercules lifts off the ice runway, and for the next 6 to 8 months, there are no flights in or out. The station population has dropped from nearly 1,000 people to around 130. If you're one of the women who stayed, you're now sealed inside a hermetically controlled building where the outside temperature will soon hit 50 below, where the sun will disappear completely for 4 months, and where every door you walk through, every conversation you have, every decision you make will be observed by the same small group of people until the sun returns in late August. You can't leave. There's no medical evacuation, no escape from conflict, no privacy in a place where the station runs on gossip. How do you manage menstruation when your products freeze solid in a tent at 40 below? How do you urinate in the field when undressing exposes your core to lethal cold? How do you live alongside someone who harassed you when there's no way out for half a year? This is life for women on Antarctic research stations during the polar winter.
It's cold, it's dark for 6 months, it's like there's ice. Why would you?
When the last plane leaves McMurdo Station in February, everything changes. The station has been running at full capacity throughout the Australian summer. Scientists conducting field work, cargo crews unloading supply ships, and construction teams racing to finish projects before the season ends. Nearly 1,000 people. Dorm rooms are packed with 4 to 6 bunks each, shower schedules, noise, the constant shuffle of bodies in hallways. Then the winter crew is selected. Around 130 people. The plane takes off and the isolation begins. You're now living in one of the most remote places on Earth. The nearest other humans are at a different research station, hours away by traverse vehicle, in conditions that make travel impossible for most of the year. The temperature starts dropping. Coastal stations like McMurdo will average negative 20 to 30 degrees Celsius through winter. Inland stations, the South Pole, Vostok, regularly hit 60 to 80 below. At 50 below, exposed skin freezes in under 2 minutes. The sun sets in April and doesn't rise again until late August. Not a sunset then night cycle, a single continuous event. For weeks, there's astronomical twilight, a faint glow on the horizon. Then that disappears too. Complete darkness. Some stations experience this for 3 months, others nearly 4. The station itself is hermetically sealed. You live, work, and sleep in an artificial atmosphere. There are no windows you can open. The air is recycled, stale, and carries what everyone calls the crud, a persistent cough that circulates through the ventilation system. The building hums. Generators run continuously. You hear them in your room at night. This is the baseline. Everything else, the logistics, the social dynamics, the physical toll, flows from this reality. You are locked in a controlled environment where the outside will kill you in minutes, and the inside is shared with everyone else who is also locked in. Living at extremes changes your body in ways you don't expect. Polar T3 syndrome is a thyroid dysfunction caused by prolonged exposure to extreme cold and isolation. It disrupts the way your thyroid regulates metabolism and energy. The symptoms are cognitive, memory loss, slowed thinking, what researchers call the Antarctic stare. Women report brain fog, forgetting mid-sentence what they were saying, walking into a room and not remembering why. It's not stress. It's your endocrine system responding to an environment human bodies weren't designed for. The lack of sunlight wrecks your circadian rhythm. Without the day-night cycle, your internal clock starts free running. Some people stay awake for 20 hours at a stretch. Others sleep excessively. You take melatonin. You use blackout curtains during the brief periods of twilight. It doesn't always work. The air is dry. Humidity at inland stations is effectively zero. Your skin cracks, your lips bleed. You drink water constantly, and it doesn't help. The dryness also creates intense static electricity. Touching a metal doorknob can deliver a shock so painful it shorts out electronics. People learn to touch grounded surfaces first, discharge the static before reaching for a door handle or a light switch. Water itself is rationed. At inland stations, water is made by melting snow, which requires fuel. Showers are restricted to 2 minutes, twice a week. You time yourself. Some people wet down, turn off the water, soap up, then rinse. Others just stand under the flow for the full 2 minutes and call it good enough. Either way, you're not clean by normal standards, you're functional. The station air carries the crud. It's not a specific illness. It's a rotating collection of respiratory infections that pass through the closed population. Someone gets a cold. Within a week, 30 people have it. It lingers. You cough for weeks. There's no leaving to recover in fresh air. There's no fresh air. Your body adapts, but the adaptation has costs. You're not the same person, physiologically, that you were when you arrived. One of the few perks of wintering over is that you usually get your own room. In summer, dorm rooms are packed, 4 to 6 people in bunks. You dress in the bathroom. You store your belongings in a locker that fits a duffel bag. Privacy is theoretical. But when the population drops for winter, space opens up. Winterovers typically get a single small room, maybe 8 by 10 feet, a bed, a desk, a narrow closet, a door that locks. This room becomes the only place on the continent where you can be unobserved, the only space where you can close the door and know that no one is watching what you do, listening to what you say, or tracking your movements. It's a sanctuary, but the walls are thin. You hear your neighbors, conversations, music, other sounds, and everyone knows everyone's schedule. Who eats breakfast early, who works the late shift, who goes to the gym at midnight. If you visit someone else's room, people notice. Sometimes by the next morning, sometimes sooner. There's a phenomenon people call the walk of shame. If a woman enters a man's dorm room and stays for any length of time, it circulates as station gossip. Not because anything specific happened, but because there's no television, limited internet, and tracking social dynamics becomes the primary form of entertainment. People talk, they speculate, they watch. This creates a strange duality. You have a private room, a door, a lock, a bed that's yours alone. But you don't have social privacy. Your movements are known. Your relationships are observed. The station functions as a fishbowl where everyone is both observer and observed. For women, this visibility has an edge. If you're friendly, someone interprets it as interest. If you're distant, someone interprets it as coldness. You're constantly managing perception because there's no resetting the narrative. The same people will be here for 6 more months. There's no leaving a bad interaction behind. There's no taking a break from the social environment. Your room is the only escape, and even that isn't fully private. It's architecture, not anonymity. Extreme cold weather gear, what everyone calls ECW gear, was historically designed and sized for men. The standard issue parka is a red insulated coat everyone calls Big Red. It's bulky, effective, and built for a male torso. For petite women, the smallest men's sizes are still too large. The armpits hang down to waist level. This creates 2 problems. First, you lose mobility. Reaching overhead, climbing, or working with tools becomes awkward because the coat's structure doesn't match your frame. Second, the excess fabric traps dead air that your body has to heat. Dead air is good insulation only if your body heat can warm it. Oversized pockets stay cold. You end up wearing a heavy coat that doesn't keep you as warm as it should. The boots, bunny boots, white vapor barrier boots rated for extreme cold, are heavy and wide. They're designed for male feet, which tend to be wider and longer. Women with narrower feet experience heel lift. Your heel moves inside the boot with every step. This causes blistering, chronic blistering. Over weeks of field work, the blisters become open sores. Walking becomes painful, and on ice, an unstable boot is a safety hazard. You can't move confidently. You can't react quickly if you start to slip. The gear problem isn't cosmetic, it's operational. Ill-fitting equipment reduces your capability, which increases your risk. Urination in the field highlights this mismatch. Male researchers can urinate quickly through a fly in their bibs without significant exposure. Women must strip multiple layers, bib, overalls, thermal pants, base layers, to squat. This exposes the core of your body to air that can be 40 or 50 degrees below. At those temperatures, exposure for even a few minutes can lead to hypothermia. The workaround is a FUD, a female urination device. It's a funnel that allows you to urinate standing up through a zipper fly, the same way men do, but it requires practice. You have to position it correctly, aim, and manage flow while wearing thick gloves and multiple layers. If you get it wrong, if the funnel shifts or you misjudge the angle, you wet your base layers. Inside multi-layer clothing at 40 below, that's a disaster. Wet fabric loses its insulation. You can't dry it. You're now walking around in clothing that's conducting heat away from your body instead of trapping it. The gear problems compound. Gloves are sized for larger hands, which means women often lose fine motor control when they need it most, tightening a bolt on a generator in 50 below wind or securing a fuel line connection where a leak could mean a fire. You can wear thinner glove liners inside for dexterity, but then your hands get cold faster. You're constantly trading off between capability and warmth. And it's not just one piece of gear that doesn't fit. It's all of it, simultaneously. You're working in boots that cause blisters, a parka that restricts your reach, and gloves that make precision work difficult. The cumulative effect is that you're fighting your own equipment while also fighting the cold. Women develop informal workaround networks, trading gear with others who have similar builds, learning which sizes run closer to true fit, modifying straps and closures. Some women bring their own gear from previous polar expeditions or mountaineering backgrounds, but that requires experience and money. If you're new to Antarctic work, you wear what's issued, and what's issued wasn't designed for your body. FUDS solve the problem, but only if you've practiced enough to use them reliably under field conditions. Adaptation becomes a skill you have to develop because the gear wasn't designed to accommodate your body in the first place. Menstruation in Antarctica is a logistical challenge. All human waste in field camps must be packed out. You can't bury it. You can't leave it on the ice. Environmental protocols require that everything you bring in, you bring out. This includes used menstrual products, tampons, pads, menstrual cups. Everything goes into a Ziploc bag that you carry with you for the duration of the field season. Sometimes that's days, sometimes it's weeks. The products themselves freeze. At 40 below in a tent, a menstrual cup becomes rigid. Changing it requires dexterity you don't have when your hands are cold and your gloves are bulky. You take off your gloves, handle the frozen cup, clean it with limited water, reinsert it, and zip everything back up before your fingers go numb. The whole process takes minutes. You don't want to spend hours exposed in a freezing tent. There's a persistent station myth that menstrual blood will freeze inside your body. It won't. Your core temperature stays at 37 Celsius. But the myth reflects a real anxiety. The cold makes managing your period harder, and the logistics are relentless. The decision to suppress your cycle isn't casual. Most women consult with the station medical officer or their personal physician before deploying. Some programs encourage it in pre-deployment guidance, though it's framed as optional. The calculus changes depending on your role. If you're doing multi-week field deployments, living in tents on the glacier, working 12-hour days with no access to running water, suppression becomes more appealing. The logistical burden of managing menstruation in a field camp, where every ounce of waste must be hauled back and every minute of warmth matters, pushes many women toward medical intervention even if they wouldn't choose it otherwise. But suppression doesn't always work perfectly. Breakthrough bleeding can occur, especially in the first few months. If that happens during winter, you're managing the problem you tried to avoid, but now without the preparation you would have brought if you'd planned for a normal cycle. Some women pack menstrual supplies as backup even if they've suppressed. Others don't, assuming the medication will work. It's a calculated risk in an environment where resupply is impossible for 8 months. A 2023 survey found that a significant percentage of female expeditioners choose to medically suppress their menstrual cycles before going to Antarctica. They use IUDs or take birth control pills continuously to skip periods entirely. The decision isn't about discomfort, it's about logistics. Eliminating menstruation removes a biological variable from an already difficult operational environment. This is an adaptation at the biological level. The environment doesn't accommodate normal bodily functions, so you medically alter your body to fit the environment. In 2022, the National Science Foundation released a report on the U.S. Antarctic program. The finding: 59% of women surveyed reported experiencing harassment or assault while working in Antarctica. 59%. The gender ratios at most stations skew heavily male, especially in winter. At some stations, it's 70 to 30 men to women. At others, 80-20. In trade roles, mechanics, electricians, carpenters, the ratio is even more skewed. These are the people who control the station's infrastructure. They maintain the heat, the water, the power. If something breaks, they fix it. If something needs to be built, they build it. Scientists and support staff, where women are better represented, depend on them for survival. This creates a structural asymmetry. The people who control the life support systems are predominantly men. The people who depend on those systems include a much higher percentage of women. If a conflict occurs, there's no neutral authority to appeal to. There's no HR department, no external mediator. You're in a closed system where the same people who control your environment also control access to resources, information, and social capital. The ice wife phenomenon is a term used to describe a dynamic where women are pursued aggressively because of the scarcity created by the gender ratio. It's not flattery, it's pressure. Women report feeling like they're being evaluated, watched, or treated as potential romantic or sexual partners rather than colleagues doing the same difficult work everyone else is doing. If harassment occurs during winter, there's no exit. You can't leave. There are no flights for 6 to 8 months. You must continue living in the same building, eating in the same galley, working in the same spaces as the person who harassed you. You see them every day. You pass them in hallways. You sit near them at meals. There's no restraining order, no transfer to another station, no time off to recover. The closed system that makes Antarctic winters survivable also makes it inescapable when something goes wrong. Mixed gender groups in isolated environments are more stable than all male groups. Antarctic stations with balanced gender ratios experience fewer aggressive incidents and better overall morale. Women at winter stations often take the lead in organizing social events. Midwinter is a major celebration in June, the midpoint of the polar night. Some stations throw elaborate parties with costumes, themed decorations, and multi-course meals cooked by volunteers. It's a deliberate intervention to break the psychological monotony of the long night. Women also organize movie nights, craft circles, and fancy dinners where everyone dresses up. Even though you're still eating in the same galley you eat in every other day. These aren't trivial activities, they're psychological engineering. The third quarter phenomenon is well documented in isolated populations. It occurs around August or September, just before the sun returns. The novelty of the experience has worn off. The end is still weeks away. Morale crashes, people become irritable, small conflicts escalate. Organizing structured social events combats this by giving people something to anticipate and participate in together. Physical labor also builds cohesion. Women work as fuelies, hauling heavy hoses to refuel vehicles and generators. They work as wasties, managing the station's trash and recycling. They work in cargo, unloading supply planes and moving freight. The work is hard, it's cold, but it creates camaraderie. You're doing something tangible. You're contributing in a visible, measurable way. Many women report leaving Antarctica in the best physical shape of their lives, not despite the labor, but because of it. Women are cited as stabilizers of the social environment. They organize the events that maintain morale. They participate in the labor that keeps the station running. Yet they also bear a 59% harassment rate. The people most responsible for holding the community together are also the most vulnerable within it. For decades, communication from Antarctic stations was limited to slow, expensive satellite email. You could send messages, but bandwidth was so restricted that real-time conversation was impossible. Phone calls were rare and scheduled. Video calls didn't exist. You were isolated not just physically, but informationally. In late 2023, Starlink arrived at McMurdo and parts of Palmer Station. This changed everything. The bandwidth restriction shaped station culture in ways people didn't fully recognize until it changed. Scientists couldn't access journals in real time. They couldn't download large datasets or collaborate on live video calls with their home institutions. If you had a technical problem with your research equipment, troubleshooting meant describing the issue over text-only email and waiting days for a response. Decisions that would take an hour with a phone call took a week. The delay forced self-sufficiency. You learned to solve problems locally because remote help was too slow to be useful. Starlink eliminated that constraint. Scientists can now video conference with their labs, download research papers instantly, and access cloud-based analysis tools as if they were on a university campus. Communication that used to require patience and careful written explanations now happens in real time. For research productivity, this is transformative. Now, women can FaceTime their families. They can see their kids. They can attend virtual birthday parties. They can watch their partner make dinner in real time, half a world away. The isolation, the total separation from home, is gone. But it introduced a new problem. FOMO, fear of missing out. Before Starlink, you were isolated, but you were also insulated. You couldn't follow what was happening at home in real time, so you stopped trying. You focused on the ice. You immersed yourself in station life because there was no alternative. Now you can see what you're missing. You know your sister is pregnant, and you're not there. You know your father had surgery, and you couldn't visit. You know your friends are going on trips, celebrating milestones, living their lives. And you're in a sealed building at the bottom of the world, watching it happen through a screen. The connection sustains you emotionally, but it also tethers you to a life you can't participate in. You're present, but absent. You can see your family, but you can't touch them. You can hear their voices, but you can't help them. Some women say Starlink makes the ice easier. Some say it makes it harder. Most say it does both. The trade-off is real. You stay connected to the people you love, but you also stay aware of everything you're giving up to be here. Surviving an Antarctic winter as a woman means navigating layers of systems that weren't designed for you. The gear is sized wrong. The infrastructure assumes your body works a certain way. The social dynamics assume your presence in the community follows certain patterns. And when those assumptions fail, when the parka doesn't fit, when menstruation becomes a logistical burden, when harassment leaves you with no exit, you adapt. You engineer workarounds. You practice using a FUD until you can do it reliably in 40 below wind. You medically suppress your cycle so you don't have to manage frozen menstrual products in a tent. You organize social events, haul fuel hoses, manage waste, and do the physical labor that keeps the station running. The women who winter over in Antarctica are there because they want to be. They're scientists conducting research that can only happen in that environment. They're tradespeople keeping critical infrastructure running. They're station managers, cooks, medics, and communication specialists doing work that matters. They're not victims. They're professionals navigating a hostile environment where the cold can kill in minutes. The isolation is total for months, and the community is both your lifeline and your constraint. When the sun finally rises in late August, the first plane lands, and the station population begins to swell again for summer. The winter overs walk out onto the ice in sunlight they haven't seen in 4 months. Some cry, some just stand there, faces turned upward. The isolation is over. The lockdown is ending, but the experience stays with you. You lived through something most people will never understand. Not just the cold, not just the darkness, but the constant negotiation between survival and the systems that make survival possible. You learn to live inside them anyway.